Hello and welcome all. Today we are going to take the part 2 for the SQL Server playlist, in which I'll show you how to create the database in Microsoft SQL Server. The first lecture was about how to connect to SQL Server using SQL Server Management Studio, which is a client tool for Microsoft SQL Server. So here in this tutorial today we are going to learn what are the different ways of creating a database on SQL Server and what are system databases versus user-defined database. And we'll also briefly inspect what are the database files, MDF files and the log files, which are created on creating a database. So let's switch over to Microsoft SQL Server through SQL Server Management Studio. So SQL Server Management Studio is loading. So you can see the version is 17.1. Now this is loaded. So if you have attended my first lecture, you will see how I could connect. So I'll just go for the Windows authentication and with the default server name as desktop. That is my desktop name. Okay, and click on connect. So if you click on connect, now the database engine is loaded. Now on the left hand side, you've got this below that server node, which is the desktop L4 LKD6P, which is my computer's name. You've got all these nodes of databases, then security, server, objects. So this is Object Explorer. And if you expand the databases node, you can see the system databases. There are 4 system databases: master, model, MSDB and TempDB. And we will today show you how to create the user-defined database. First of all, let's talk about these 4 databases briefly. All of these databases, actually, they are important and in their own ways, they have got their own jobs to do, but collectively they are used by the SQL Server for its own maintenance and management. So we'll take all of these 4 databases in more detail in sometimes down the lane. Okay, so for the time being, let's concentrate in how to create a database. Okay, so you can create database in one of the 2 ways. First is graphically or with the manual process with right clicking the database node and create a new database. Okay, so once you click the create this new database, you have to give a database name. Let me give it a name, my DB. Okay, and owner is default. Let everything be default, and you have got a database files mydb and mydb_log. We'll come to that in a bit. Now if you click on OK, it will start executing and it will create a database mydb at the end of the node. And these are all previous databases created on my server, and these are user-defined database as opposed to the system database, which have got this master, model, MSDB and TempDB. Okay, now there is another process of creating this database, that is through querying, SQL querying. Now this is my newly created database. Okay, so if I just right click and click on new query, so there will be a new query dialog. Okay, SQL query, and that uses MyDB. However, in order to create a database through query, I'll have to use the master database, which is the system database. Okay, so master database. So either you could write use master, or the other procedure is out of this drop down list, if you select master, that will also do, then you don't need to write. Okay, so if you are there on some other database, say for example the newly created database MyDB, so then you want to create another database which will be one of the user defined databases under this database node, then you have to write like this: use master and then create create database my DB1, okay, and then you click on execute button. And commands completed successfully. Now the my DB1 is created. So how to see that? You have to refresh it. Okay, refresh this database node. So my DB1 is created. So these are the two methods of creating database: graphically through the user interface and by writing the query. Now, once you are creating this database, so there are two files that are generated. That is one is the MDF file, the master data file, and another is a transactional log file or log data file. Now this master data file, the use of this master data file is to contain the database records data, because MDF file is the primary or the main file in the database, whereas on the other hand, LDF file or file with the .ldf extension keeps a log of the changes. It is a support file to the master database file, and it keeps a log of the changes made to the database as well as all the actions performed. It can help in the recovery of the database should the need arise. Okay, now let me show you the process of showing where the database files are created. Okay, so here I have highlighted the desktop, the server, the node, the server level node, and click on properties. And then if I click on database settings, then you can see that the data file and the log file are created at this location. So if I just copy one of these, here the data file and the log file are all created at the same location, and this is the backup file location. So click on OK, and let me just open my file explorer, and it's already there. Actually, I have put it to the data directory and the log file directory, log file and the MDF directory earlier. So it's again refreshing. Now the latest database that I have created, that is my DB1. So these are the my db1.mdf and my db1_log.ldf. So these two are the essential files that are created by default, and they are put in this location. Okay, so this location also can be changed, that we'll see in the next lecture for when we alter the database. So in this lecture we have seen how we create a database by a query or by graphically through the SQL Server Management Studio, and what are the use of the system databases, and what is the use of the MDF and the LDF file generated.